Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to my channel. Today I want to show you how I made this cheap and easy water fountain that is attracting so many birds to my garden. It's amazing. So the only thing that I had to purchase for this project is the solar fountain pump. I will leave a link to it down below in case you're interested in purchasing it yourself. And I actually had everything else on hand already. The other supplies that I used for this are a kitty litter bucket, some spray paint, tubing that fits the solar fountain pump, and then also some decorative rocks on top. So this is the kitty litter bucket that I ended up using as my water reservoir. I liked that it was pretty tall so I could fill it up with water and not have to worry about the water running out anytime soon. And it was a pretty good size, something I could move around the garden pretty easily. So obviously I did not like the look of the kitty litter bucket how it was, so I used some spray paint and gave it a nice coat of blue. So with this spray paint, I ended up doing 2 coats and that covered all of the text that was on the bucket pretty well. And then the next step was poking the holes through the top so that I could put the tubing in through the middle, and then I needed drainage holes so that the water can then drain back down into the reservoir. So here I'm just showing you what the solar panel and the pump look like. So this is the mini pump, and the top portion right there, as you can see, is where you would put any of the attachments that it comes with, or you can put tubing to extend that further. So for me, I wanted the pump at the bottom of the bucket, and then I needed to put the clear vinyl tubing onto that to pump it further up to the top of the bucket. And I purchased my clear tubing from Home Depot, and I would recommend if you have your pump already, you can bring that with you to make sure that you get the correct sizing. And as you can see here on the base of the pump, there are suction cups, which is nice because it helps to keep the pump in place. So in order to get the correct size hole for the tubing, I traced the outside with a pencil so that the hole wouldn't be too big. I wanted to make sure that the tubing wouldn't just slide out. And I could not find my drill, so I ended up using a hot glue gun to poke the holes, and it worked pretty well. But I would say if you have a soldering iron or a drill, that might be a little bit easier, but this worked for me. So I just twisted the glue gun back and forth until I was able to get a decent sized hole. So as you can see here, I tried to fit the tubing in and it was still a little bit too small. So what I did is I used the glue gun and pressed it more along the sides to really widen that hole to fit the tubing. So once I got that first hole for the tubing finished, I poked the holes for the water to be able to drain back into the reservoir, and I wanted to make sure I poked enough holes that it wouldn't overflow, but also I wanted it to hold enough water so that the birds could drink within the rocks and have a bath as well. I didn't want it just to be draining so fast that there was no water in the top portion. So this was my first attempt at the holes, and as you'll see later, I tested it and I needed to put more holes because it was overflowing. But the next issue that I addressed was the wire. So the wire has to come out from the inside, and then your solar panel will be, off to the side catching the sun, and that is what's going to power this. And even if you have a one that plugs into the wall, you'll have this issue as well, that the lid isn't going to fit snugly because of the wire. So I tried at first to use my hot glue gun to put a little sliver on the side for the wire, and that didn't work. So I got my jigsaw out. It's probably totally overkill. There's something, I'm sure, way better, like a soldering iron to use for this, but it worked. So that worked pretty well, and I was able to put a notch in the side of the bucket and put the wire through that. That way the lid would fit on snugly. So now it was time to add some water to the bucket and test it out and see how it would do. So I put the panel in the sun. And I was so excited that it worked. The pump was flowing, the water was doing what I wanted it to, but unfortunately I didn't put enough holes and it ended up overflowing. So I had to kind of drain the top of it out and add a few more holes so that the water would flow as I wanted it to. So here was my second try, and this ended up working out perfectly. It was enough holes that it was draining pretty well, but it still held water up in the top portion. So to add a little bit more decoration, I added these river stones that I got from Hobby Lobby. I already had them on hand. They're super cheap, they're $3.99, but you can get the same kind of thing from the dollar store or anything like that. So here I'm showing you the different attachments that came with this solar pump. And as you can see, it comes with a lot of these different little accessories, which I didn't end up using, but I wanted to show you what they look like when you put them on. So this part is the base for the other attachments, and I ended up just using this base in the end because I think it's an attractive sound and it looks nice and the birds seem to like it. But the fountain heads are really cool as well. So here's the first one, and if the sun's not on it directly, it works pretty good, but once the sun hits it and it powers up even more, it shoots so far that it ends up going outside of the bucket and it would drain it pretty quickly. So if you're wanting to use one of these heads, you should probably have a wider base, so like a bigger bowl or something like that, or put it in a pond or something like that. Otherwise, you'll end up draining the entire thing and then it would run dry and your pump could end up burning out. Same thing with this one. This is a different one of the heads. And this one as well, it just kind of a little bit of a splash to the side. And here's yet another one, and they all kind of pretty much do the same thing. They're just different patterns on the top with the different number of holes. So while I do like the effect that these kind of fountain heads give, they just weren't going to work for this project because they were just pushing the water, spraying the water outside of the bucket. So I ended up just taking off the other attachments and just using the base. And the birds seem to be loving it. I'm enjoying watching them come and drink and take baths and seeing all the different types of birds that are coming to it. So if you guys try it, let me know how it goes in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.